You know what's strange? Some of the calmest men I know are the angriest inside. You know what the a saying I remember as a kid is beware of the quiet ones because they can be volatile. It's not because they're suppressing rage. It's because they've spent years being reasonable when all they wanted to do was just push back, staying quiet when they had something to say, smoothing things over when they wanted to walk away. And somewhere along the line, they learned that being easy is what keeps life manageable. That belief works for a while, then it starts costing you. Today I want to talk about that belief. The one that says, if I'm easy, things stay calm. Not because it's wrong, but because it's incomplete. You see, where I came from, most blokes who keep the peace didn't decide to be this way last year. They learnt it early. Maybe you grew up in a house where tension lived in the walls. Raised voices meant something was about to kick off, an argument, a fight, and the safest thing that you could do was disappear. Not physically, just get smaller and withdraw into yourself. You learnt that being easy kept you out of the firing line, basically. Being helpful meant you were useful. Being agreeable meant that no one turned on you. So you got good at reading the room, working out what people wanted before they asked, keeping your own needs quiet so you didn't need to add to the load. And it worked. You weren't the problem child. You weren't the one causing stress. You were the easy one. That label, easy, it felt like safety. And in that house, at that age, I guarantee it was. It's why it made sense then. But here's the thing. You weren't weak for doing that. You were adapting. As a kid, we don't have the power. You can't leave. You can't reset the dynamic. You can't tell adults, just sort it out. But what you can do is make yourself less of a target. So if being easy kept you safe, then wasn't being easy the most intelligent thing that you could have done? If staying quiet avoided conflicts, then weren't you just surviving by staying quiet? That wasn't you being soft. That was you being the smartest person in the room. The problem isn't that the belief existed. The problem is it didn't stay there in childhood. You brought it with you. And this is where it shows up now. Fast forward 20, 30 years, you're an adult now, you've got your own life, your own work, your own relationships, and you're still being easy. Not because you have to, but because the belief never got updated. It's like an iPhone that you never update the operating system on. It stays back in 1999. And somewhere in your head there's still a rule running that if I'm easy, things stay calm. So you don't push back at work when someone takes credit for your idea. You don't say anything when plans change last minute and you're expected to just get on with it. You don't correct someone when they speak over you in a meeting. You stay agreeable. You stay flexible. You stay easy. And on the surface it works. No arguments, no tension, no mess. But underneath, you're still carrying it all. The cost of being easy isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It just accumulates. You finish a conversation and feel tight, like something got left unsaid. You say yes to something and immediately feel resentful, but you don't take it back. You just carry it. And then you lie in bed, replaying that moment you should have spoken up, working out what you should have said, building that argument that you'll never have. And here's the kicker: no one else knows, because you've trained everyone around you to expect that you won't cause problems. Your partner knows you'll let things slide. Your mates know you'll go along with the plan. Your boss knows you won't make a fuss. They're not being cruel, they're just responding to the pattern that you've shown them. You've made it yourself easy to deal with, and now you're being dealt with. Here's the part most men miss: you don't just lose your voice doing this, you lose credibility with yourself. Because every time you stay quiet when something matters, you teach yourself one thing: my truth is negotiable. And once you start negotiating with yourself, other people don't need to push. You've already stepped back. What's it cost you in relationships? This one hurts, because the belief, if I'm easy, things stay calm, doesn't just show up at work. It shows up at home. You don't mention when something bothers you. You let it slide because it's not worth the argument. You agree to things you don't want to do because, well, it's easier than explaining why you don't want to do them. You stay quiet when your partner makes plans without asking you. All because if you say something, you feel you're making it difficult. And on the surface, that relationship looks smooth. No fights, no tension, no drama. But there's no honesty either. Because being easy doesn't create connection. It creates a performance. Because you're not showing up as your true self. You're showing up as a version of yourself that doesn't cause problems. And after a while, you start to wonder if your partner even knows who you are. Or if they just know this easy version. The one who doesn't complain. The one who goes along with everything. The one who's always fine. That's not intimacy. That's just maintaining a relationship. And then there's work. The cost is different, but it's just as real. Being easy, again, it doesn't get you any respect. It gets you more work. Because if you're the one that doesn't push back, you're the one that gets the extra task. The last minute request, the thing no one else wants to do, and you take it. Not because you want to, but because saying no feels like conflict. So you stay late, you cover for people, you take on that extra contract, and no one thanks you for it because they don't see it as you doing them a favour or going above and beyond. They just see it as you doing your job. And meanwhile, that guy that pushes back, the one who says, that's not my responsibility, mate, get so-and-so to do it, he gets left alone. Not because he's being difficult, but because he's made it clear where his line is, and you haven't. The belief that you brought up with you from childhood is not serving you anymore. And here's the truth. It kept you safe as a kid, but it's keeping you small as an adult. If I'm easy, things stay calm. It worked when calm meant safety, but now calm just means you're the one absorbing the tension. Things stay calm for everyone else, but not you. And the worst part is, you can't even be angry about it. Because no one forced you to be this way. You chose it. Every time you chose to stay quiet. Every time you chose to let it slide. Every time you chose to be easy. And it's not because you're weak, but because the belief told you that was the safe move. And it's only now, years later, that you're starting to see what it's cost you. Once you see this belief clearly, something shifts. You start noticing when it's playing out. You're in a conversation and you feel yourself about to agree to something you don't want to, and you stop. Not because you've become difficult, but because you've stopped lying to yourself about what being easy actually does. Because you know that it doesn't keep you safe. It actually keeps you stuck. And once you see that, you can't unsee it. So what can you do next? Look, I'm not telling you to become difficult. I'm not telling you to become the arse. I'm not saying you should start picking fights or pushing back on everything. But what I am saying is this. If you're still living by a belief you learnt as a boy, it's worth asking whether that belief still deserves your loyalty. Because the version of you that needed to be easy to stay safe, that boy's not here anymore. But you are. And you don't owe anyone ease at your own expense. Most men see this clearly. Few do anything about it. Don't be one of the few.